The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hey, this is Scott Norton, and you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here, solo this week. On today's show, I will be discussing the last 2 Kizuna Road shows, listener questions, and covering all the latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network or Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating interview. You can also get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tee store, ProWrestlingTees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWworld.com. We have features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. You can visit njpwext.us today for details. So yes, as you heard in the intro, I am here solo this week. Young boy had to take care of some stuff. Don't worry, he is all right. It is not hurricane related. Even though Hurricane Elsa is, it's closing in here in Florida. As you guys know, we are here in Tampa. As I record right now, I have no bad weather in my area of town. It's kind of the calm before the storm right now. It's pretty quiet outside. The skies are kind of gray, but so far, no crazy weather yet. Looks like the crazy weather will be coming in later this evening, maybe sometime in the middle of the morning. But been living here in Florida pretty much my whole life, and so I'm used to the hurricane weather and getting prepared and all that stuff. So we're all set and ready to go here. So hopefully, young boy will be back next week. And I could have called in for some help this week. I could have reached out to one of our normal reoccurring guests, somebody else here on the network, but that there's been a lot of solo shows in the history of the network. Even this past week, we had James Boyd. He did a solo show for One Nation Radio this week. In the past, Rich has had to go solo. We've had a solo All Things Elite with Floyd. I'm trying to think what else we have here on the network. I feel like there's a couple of the shows. Ricky and Clive, we've had solo. Clive's done a couple solo shows before. Ricky might have done a solo show by himself before us once, but yeah. So all the hosts here on the network, they've all done their solo shows before, and I have not done a solo episode of Keeping It Strong Style before. So here we go. I figured I'd give it a shot and see if I could pull it off. So this is either going to be really good or really bad. Luckily, I will have the advantage of post-production to kind of salvage it if it goes completely bad, if it's minus 5-star territory. I haven't done solo audio probably in almost 10 years when I was a part of my college's radio station and did a show there. So this should be fun, interesting, a little challenge here for me, but we're gonna get through it. I think I could pull it off. So I appreciate everybody who's sent in questions and who will be listening this week. We'll definitely appreciate your feedback on this week's show. So first thing that I want to jump into here is Resurgence. So first thing, a lot of you guys have been asking me and Young Boy, are we going to be in LA? Are we going to be there for Resurgence? Are we going to be there for New Japan Strong Fighting Spirit Unleashed? Well, I do have some good news for you guys. The Young Boy and I did get approved for media credentials for Resurgence August 14th, so we will be in LA come August. We will have media credentials. Unfortunately, there is not going to be a press conference day before like there was for the G1 Climax in Dallas, which were 2-year anniversary of that show where we got our first media credentials. So no press conference for Resurgence. But we will be in the building for media credentials. Not sure yet what all that's going to entail. Whether we're going to have access to wrestlers or not. If we're going to be able to interview any of the wrestlers, or kind of what all we get besides entry with our media credentials. And I was a little discouraged because at first, we were reaching out, putting all the word out, trying to figure out, who do we even talk to get credentials? And of course, we reached out to some of our sources in the company, pointed us in the right direction. And at first, we were hearing, they're being really strict on media credentials for this event. And so we're thinking, oh man, they're probably only letting in the really, really big boys, your Sports Illustrated, your Dave Meltzers of the Wrestling Observer, the top dogs. But lo and behold, Keepin It Strong Style, the Young Boy and I got approved. We will be there for Resurgence, got our media credentials. We'll be there with the big boys enjoying this awesome New Japan show in LA. And I do have some news on tickets, how the ticket sales have been going. So tickets went on sale last week, and I got some data here from WrestleTix. This is a great account, guys. If you are a stats nerd like me and you like seeing just different numbers and how things are going, there's a account that's dedicated to tracking ticket sales for multiple wrestling promotions. It's WrestleTix. You can follow them on Twitter at WrestleTix. They also have a Patreon account where on that account they do more kind of daily updates on ticket sales for New Japan, WWE, AEW, if ticket maps get updated, and they do a really good job. This account just popped up recently for me in the last couple of weeks, and I've been following them. I'm a part of the Patreon. I appreciate all the hard work that they're doing. It seems like it's one person. I'm not sure who's actually behind it, but they've been doing a great job with this account and getting all this ticket information. So I got some information here on how sales have been going for Resurgence. So again, this comes from WrestleTix. So as of right now, from their last update, there are 509 tickets available for Resurgence. Current capacity for the show is 2,252. And as of right now, as of the last report, tickets distributed 1,743, which means 77% of the tickets are gone. And so tickets went on sale, I believe it was last Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific time. And by 9:35 Pacific time last week, there were 65% of the tickets sold. Personally, I think this is a great advance here, a great, first day ticket sales for Resurgence. It's been a while since New Japan has run a big show here in the U.S. And, if you look all over social media, if you look in your wrestling circles, New Japan hasn't really been, the talk of the town. And when people are talking on it, they're kind of bashing some decisions. They're not happy with the clap crowds. You see a lot of criticism on New Japan during this pandemic era. And so there was concern, were these tickets going to sell? Were people going to be interested in a U.S. New Japan show right now? Because it seems like interest is at an all-time low in, the past 5 years or so. and especially with the talent they've announced. They haven't really announced any of the top domestic New Japan names, but there are some big names announced for this show. But I think for first day, selling 65% of the tickets, I think that's excellent. We weren't sure exactly what the setup was going to be. So as of right now, like I said, the building is set up for 2,252 for the attendance. I'm not sure if there's going to be social distancing or not. We do know that attendees are going to be asked to wear masks, but we're not sure if there's going to be distancing throughout the building like we've seen with other New Japan events in Japan, and kind of what we saw with AEW in their run in Daly's Place in Jacksonville during majority of the pandemic. So it'll be interesting to see if that's part of the reason why the capacity is only limited to 2,252. We will have updates if the seating map does get changed. WrestleTix, as like I mentioned, they've been doing a great job when ticket maps do change. They've been kind of reporting that and kind of how that opens up tickets. So if there is a change in the ticket map, we'll talk about it here before the show. I think this is a good crowd here for New Japan's first show back in the U.S. Since the pandemic. With now about 77% of the tickets sold. I'm expecting by August, as we get to the show, it should be sold out, close to a sellout, especially as they start announcing more of the card. I'm sure ticket interest will go up, and the rest of these tickets will sell out or be close to selling out. And like we mentioned, we will be there. There's talk of New Japan fan meetups that might be happening potentially the day of, maybe day before Resurgence. So if you are going to be out there for Resurgence and the Strong tapings, hit us up. Let us know that you're going to be there. We'll be excited to meet you guys, and we're going to plan some kind of meetup, some kind of get together, probably more than likely before the show. And so love to hang out with you guys, hang out with other New Japan fans. So tell your friends, tell anybody that's going to be out there for Resurgence to, let's get together, let's hang out. I mentioned, ticket sales will continue to go up once we have more of the card announced. Well, we do have one of the matches announced for Resurgence, and it's going to be the Switchblade, Jay White, defending the never open weight title against his arch nemesis, David Finlay. We all know the history between Jay White and David Finlay, and we saw that they were setting up this never title match before Tokyo went into the state of emergency and the Wrestle Grand Slam shows had to be canceled. And we did have a question here from Reddit user Viking Pain. He says, are you guys excited for the Jay Finlay rematch at Resurgence? I really like their New Japan Cup match this year, and I think they have great chemistry together, but they are people that are disappointed that Jay isn't in a bigger, more marquee match. Do you guys feel the same? So first of all, I am excited for a Jay White Finlay rematch. Like you mentioned, Viking Pain, they do have great chemistry together. There's a lot of backstory there, obviously, with them coming out of the New Japan Noge Dojo together, and just the amount of times, countless times, that they've wrestled each other as young lions, and as both of them have graduated, and obviously most recently with the New Japan Cup this year, with Dave Finlay kind of getting that big upset victory over Jay White. So I do think it is a solid matchup for this card. It is a matchup that you could have seen in Japan, which I think is a big deal. When people go to these New Japan shows in the U.S., they want them to feel like a true New Japan show, like a show that they would be watching at Korakuen Hall, at Osaka-jo Hall, and any of these arenas in Japan. They want that kind of authentic feel. They want matches that would have happened on a big card in Japan. And Jay White and David Finlay, I believe, was going to happen at Wrestle Grand Slam, one of those shows either out in the field or in the Tokyo Dome for the Never title. So this is a match that you would see in Japan. It's going to be here in the States. It's a big rivalry. Finlay got that upset win. I think this is a solid match up to have on this card. I do think that Jay White and Dave Finlay matches are underrated. I thought the New Japan Cup match was really, really great, and just the way Finlay sold in that match, and it's the big upset victory. I mean, people wrote Dave Finlay off from day one of the New Japan Cup, and so the fact that he got that far, pulled that upset victory over Jay White, and got himself in this position for a Never title match, I think is a pretty big deal. And I think people sleep on that match. I know a lot of people are not the biggest fans of Jay White and kind of the style he wrestles sometimes. And, Dave Finlay hasn't really been pushed very hard. He's, been that mid-card kind of position. He's had some U.S. title matches, obviously very strong in the tag division with him and Juice Robinson as FinJuice. And so, people really weren't buying into Finlay, which is why people were writing him off from day one. But Finlay is a very good wrestler. Him and Jay have great chemistry. I think it has potential to be a really good match on this Resurgence show. Now, you mentioned about people being upset that Jay White isn't in a bigger match. Now, last week, Young Boy and I talked about, as we were kind of, guessing just based on the list of talent they've announced, what matches would happen, what would be your main event. Personally, like we said last week, I think the biggest match, the biggest marquee match that they could have done for this show was Jon Moxley versus Jay White. These guys have only wrestled one time. Jay beat Moxley. We've seen a couple social media stuff back and forth between Jay, mainly Jay responding to Renee Paquette, Jon Moxley's wife. And, these guys haven't touched since the G1, since Moxley, the G1 in Japan 2019. They're the two biggest stars that's on the list that's announced, two marquee names, two big names here for the Western audience. I feel like if the main event was announced, Jay White versus Jon Moxley, I think the show would have sold out quicker than it's selling. Right? I think the show would have sold out by now. Like I said earlier, 77%, I do think tickets are going to come close to a sellout, but I feel like if they had that Moxley Jay White main event, I feel like that's a must-see main event. I think that would have, solidified the decision for a lot of people to travel to LA to see just that matchup. That would have been a big, monumental matchup. Now, I understand why they did not do Moxley versus Jay White. Obviously, Jay is the Never champion. Moxley is the U.S. champion. I mean, you could have done champion versus champion non-title. That's not as sexy. I feel like, people would have wanted either title for title or seen one of the titles defended. I feel on the show with all these champions, you want to see some title matches. You want to see titles defended. So obviously that puts them in a sticky situation if they're trying to either switch the Never belt, switch the U.S. belt. I don't think you want to put two belts on Mox and have two belts stuck here in the States. And then obviously New Japan wants to work with Moxley and continue that relationship. So that's why they haven't taken the U.S. title off him just quite yet. So I understand some of the politics on why they weren't ready to do Jay versus Mox. I know Mox is not really in a big program right now in AEW. He lost the match to the Young Bucks at the last pay-per-view, him and Kingston against the Young Bucks, and he's been off TV after that, eating those three or four BTE triggers at the end of that matchup. So he's been off TV for a while. They just had a kid. He's, I'm sure, enjoying some time with his newborn baby, and I'm sure he'll be back on the road eventually. And so I just think there's just a lot of factors going on into why they just weren't ready to pull off maybe this Mox Jay White match. And they, obviously they probably don't want to beat Jay right now, and they probably don't want to beat Mox. So if you don't want to beat somebody, don't book the match. That's a philosophy I believe in, because then you end up in screwy no DQ or a DQ finish, a count out finish. You get some kind of screwy finish when you book two guys you don't want to beat. And I don't think they're ready to beat either of those guys right now. So I understand why they're not doing Jay and Mox, but I do think that would have been the biggest match to do, and I think that's something they can pull out down the line if Moxley will be able to continue to work for New Japan in the U.S. I know at some point they're going to try to do Wrestle Dynasty again in Madison Square Garden. I feel like that's a big match that they could probably do there. I mean, that's a lot more tickets they have to sell for an MSG show. So again, that Moxley, Jay White, maybe they're saving that for an MSG or some kind of bigger arena where they need to draw even more people. So that could be another reason for holding off on the Mox Jay White match. And I get why people could be disappointed. You want to see a big match. You want to see Jay. He's a top New Japan star so far announced on this card. You want to see him in a big position, but I still think the Never title, it's the number 2 title right now in New Japan. Jay White Finlay is a hot feud with a lot of history, a lot of backstory. This is a really big matchup for these guys, and so I think it's a great spot for Jay. Now, as far as where that leaves Jon Moxley, we'll have to wait and see as the card gets rolled out over the next couple weeks. Obviously, there's a ton of potential of doing Moxley in a tag match with Shota Umino, his young line Shooter, the reunion. I think people would love to see the reunion of Shooter and Jon Moxley. You could do Shooter and Mox against the Good Brothers. Obviously, Mox has a history with the Good Brothers, with the whole rivalry in AEW against the Elite. So I think that could make a ton of sense. However, I feel like if you're going to have Jon Moxley in the U.S. with a show with fans, you want to do a IWGP U.S. title match. I would do a U.S. title match. So, I mean, there's a lot of great names announced for that show that Mox could defend the U.S. title against. I think for me, the top 2 choices probably would be Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson or Brody King. I know Brody King's a guy Mox said he's wanted to wrestle. He teamed up with Dickinson on a recent episode of Strong, and they also had a blood sport match recently. So there is some history there between Dickinson and Mox, so that would be an interesting match. But if I were New Japan, I would do a IWGP US title match with Mox and not just put him in a tag match with Shooter. Maybe I think you definitely need to do some kind of angle where they get together. Maybe you have, Mox get beat down and Shooter makes a save, or Shooter gets beat down, Mox makes a save, and they have some kind of little reunion angle. You should definitely do that. I mean, there is a possibility. You can even do Mox versus Shooter. I'm not sure how big of a quote-unquote marquee match that would be, but it'd be a very interesting match. So there's a lot of options of what they could do with Moxley coming onto this show. So also last week we had tickets going on sale for Fighting Spirit Unleashed. Unfortunately, WrestleTix doesn't have any seating information for Fighting Spirit Unleashed, but I went on the Eventbrite as of right now. Ringside A seats are all sold out. There are still tickets remaining for the other seatings for the arena. It's a very limited space, so if you're going to be in LA that weekend for Resurgence and you can afford to stay a couple extra days, why not stay a couple extra days and go to the Strong tapings? Young Boy and I will not be able to make the Strong tapings. We'll be flying back here to Tampa on Sunday of that weekend, but we will not be able to stick around for Monday for Strong tapings. But if you're live in LA, or if you're already in town for the weekend and manage to stay a couple extra days, grab some tickets for the Strong tapings. All right, now before we jump into Kizuna Road, July has started, June is over. That means we have to crown our June Wrestler of the Month and Match of the Month. So pretty good month for New Japan in the month of June. Let's start with the Wrestler of the Month. So our Wrestler of the Month, actually a team this month, Wrestlers of the Month, and our June Wrestlers of the Month are the team of Tomohiro Ishii, Hiroki Goto, and Yoshihashi, the current never openweight 6-man tag champions that represent Chaos. These guys have been on an absolute tear with these never 6-man titles, putting out banger after banger, defense after defense, taking on all comers. In the month of June, they defended against Los Ingobernables de Japón. They defended against the Bullet Club and set up their next defense against the third generation dads. These guys have been putting in work every show they're on in the multi-man matches, and then putting in work in these never 6-man defenses. They're going to go down in history as the greatest never openweight 6-man champions, with the length of the reign, with defenses, with the match quality, with the number of main events they have. These guys are killing it. And now at this point, I don't want these guys to lose a belt. I know every week, Young Boy and I kind of predict that these guys are losing and they just keep winning. I don't know why we keep saying they're going to drop the belts. I think we still have that old never 6-man mentality where the belt's hot potato so often. But these guys have been holding it down, keeping it strong, and they are the June wrestlers of the month. Then for the June match of the month, I think there's only one match it could be, and that is the match that was for the vacant IWGP World Heavyweight title between the Dragon Shingo Takagi and the Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada. That was just an epic match. I went the full 5 stars on it. I know a lot of people went 5 stars on it. It's one of the highest rated matches in June on Grapple, on Cage Match. This was Shingo's coming out party. Shingo winning the title, such a great moment for the Dragon Shingo Takagi, for New Japan fandom. I feel like that Shingo win really just electrified the fans. It got some fan interest back, got people talking, starting to get people invested in the product again. And so the match of the month for June, Shingo versus Okada. Great stuff there. Now, speaking of, matches of the month, wrestler of the month, awards, something that came up that caught my eye in the last couple of days was from Grapple. And these guys, you should know the Grapple app. These guys, it's an app where you can put your star ratings in, see what other people are rating it. And then Grapple, they do a great job of kind of collecting the data from the people who use their app and put out, little infographics on stats. And so this past weekend, Grapple emailed out their top 10 first half of 2021 list. The best matches from January to June 2021, with at least 30 ratings, over 132,000 ratings on the app in total this far this year. Let's take a look at this list, guys, if you haven't seen this list. And as I'm reading this list out, I want you to pay attention and see if you notice anything. See if there's any trends that you can pick up on as I go through this list. So at number 10, we have Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa, AEW Dynamite St. Patrick's Day Slam. We have at number 9, the Dragon, Shingo Takagi versus Will Ospreay from the New Japan Cup. Number 8, Aussie Open versus Velocities from PWA, Aussie Open versus Velocities. Number 7, Kota Ibushi versus Jay White from Wrestle Kingdom 15, Day 2. Number 6, Will Ospreay versus Zack Sabre Jr. from the New Japan Cup. Number 5, Kazuchika Okada versus Will Ospreay, Wrestle Kingdom 15, Day 1. Number 4, Shingo Takagi versus Hiroshi Tanahashi from New Beginning in Nagoya. Match number 3, Shingo Takagi versus Jeff Cobb from Wrestle Kingdom 15, Day 2. Match number 2, Utami Hayashita versus Shuri from Stardom's Tokyo Dream Cinderella. And then the number 1 rated match, Shingo Takagi versus Will Ospreay from Wrestling Dontaku Day 2. So did you guys pick up on anything? Did you catch anything? Any trends here on this list? Well, no worries. If you didn't, I'm going to point it out to you. So we got 10 matches here, guys. Of these 10 matches, 132,000 ratings so far this year. And of the 10 matches on the top 10, 7 of the top 10 are New Japan matches. You know, the same promotion that everybody keeps telling me is cooked. It's horrible. It's bad. They're past their peak. They're not good anymore. They're old news. But right here on this list, 7 of the top 10 matches this year from New Japan. The number one match, Shingo versus Will Ospreay from Dontaku. And also, another trend here that I picked up, the Dragon, Shingo Takagi. He's in, let's see here, he's in 1, 2, 3, 4 matches on the top 10 here. So overall, he has 3 matches in the top 5 matches in the first half of 2021 for Grapple. We mentioned it here before. This is the year of the Dragon, the year of Shingo Takagi. You know, if the year ended right now and we started doing our Keeping It Strong Style year-end awards, Shingo would easily right now be my wrestler of the year for our calendar period. Like we mentioned here, you look at these matches he's had this year. The matches with Ospreay, the matches with Cobb, the matches with Tanahashi, the Okada match, which is not on this list right now. This guy is just incredible, has been having an amazing year. And I think by the end of the year, we're going to see more of his matches probably climb up here. G1 has not happened yet, guys. That's right. G1 Climax is around the corner. Just imagine the great matches Shingo is going to have in that tournament as long as he goes in healthy. This guy's having an incredible year. I think he's going to be the wrestler of the year in several podcasts and publications year-end awards. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I thought it was just very interesting, just the New Japan dominance on this Grapple list in the rating. So yes, you know, maybe New Japan is not booking the storylines that you like right now. Maybe they're not the talk of the town. Western fan interest is down, but these guys are still putting out quality wrestling. They're still, in my opinion, the best bell-to-bell wrestling promotion going today. And I say it as somebody who loves AEW. I watch Dynamite every week. I watch as much wrestling as I possibly can. I watch NXT. I'll watch some Ring of Honor here and there. I'll watch some Stardom here and there. I got a pretty wide net of the stuff I'm watching, and I still think New Japan is the best bell-to-bell promotion today. Well, now let's transition over into Kizuna Road. So we had 2 Kizuna Road shows that happened last week, concluding the Kizuna Road tour. So the first show we had Thursday, July 1st. Show opened up. We had the Bullet Club team of El Phantasmo, Jado, and Taiji Ishimori defeating the Suzuki-gun team of Doki, El Desperado, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. 10 minutes and 22 seconds here. I'll see the big focus here is building up the upcoming Taiji Ishimori and Desperado junior title match that's going to be coming up later this week. And there's also some junior tag title ramifications since ELP and Taiji are the junior tag champs, and you had 3 Suzuki-gun juniors in this matchup. If they had gotten the win, that could have potentially set up a junior tag title match down the line, but that was not the case this night. Taiji Ishimori puts away Doki with the Bloody Cross in a good opener. Then we move on. We had the Suzuki-gun team of Minoru Suzuki, Taichi, and Zack Sabre Jr. defeating the LIJ team of Bushi, Sanada, and Tetsuya Naito. 12 minutes and 24 seconds. Obviously, this is more build and set up for the upcoming IWGP Tag Team title match that will be happening at Summer Struggle in Sapporo. And another good matchup here. Not that much story development. These guys, I think they're kind of cutting the silliness out. We saw a lot of silliness with the, LIJ asking to get the autographs and using that to set up the title match and all that stuff. These guys are getting a little bit more serious now. We did have Taichi here getting the win with the stretch plum. Bushi gets the win here. Also delivered a pretty nasty, dangerous backdrop driver before he got him in the stretch plum. Get the win here for the Suzuki-gun team. Then we got to the hotness here, the second half of the show, where we had 3 big singles matches as the feud between Chaos and the New Japan Dads, the third generation, came to a head. So first we had Yoshihashi defeating Hiroshi Tenzan, 14 minutes and 30 seconds. I thought this was a good matchup considering the state of Tenzan in 2021. And Yoshihashi's just been a guy that's been on fire since winning the Never Six-Man titles. Story of the match here, Yoshihashi taking Tenzan lightly at first and, kind of thinking, yeah, he's a New Japan dad. I'm a Never Six-Man champ. I can take this guy pretty easy. This is a light night for me. But Tenzan was not having any of that, and Yoshihashi slapped Tenzan, and Tenzan said, "Disrespect will not be tolerated." And of course, Tenzan comes back with the Mongolian chops, and as we get on through the match, Yoshihashi realizes he has to pick it up. He has to get more aggressive, and we see a more aggressive Yoshihashi, and he laid in some heavy chops onto Tenzan's chest. By the end of this match, Tenzan's chest is beat red. It was just nasty. It was red. It was bruising. Yoshihashi was laying in those chops on Tenzan, not holding back. There was some great near submissions from Tenzan. He locks in the Anaconda Vice. Yoshihashi has to struggle to the ropes. We had a headbutt exchange at one point, which Tenzan wins. I don't know what Yoshihashi was thinking. Why would you get into a headbutt match with the Mongolian strength of Tenzan, that big block head he has? I know he's not a Samoan, he's not a Tongan, but he has that big hard head, and you don't want to go for a headbutt battle, a headbutt challenge with Tenzan. And Yoshihashi, he made a mistake there, and he fell to Tenzan's headbutt. Once again, Tenzan gets the vice locked in. Yoshihashi escapes. He hits Tenzan hits the Anaconda Buster for a near fall, and Tenzan then goes to the top, goes for a top rope headbutt. Yoshihashi moves. He hits that big Western lariat for a near fall, running Meteora for a near fall, and then he locks in the butterfly lock, adds the Kimura to it. Tenzan has no choice but to submit. He was in the middle of the ring, not close to the ropes. He had to tap out here. So Yoshihashi gets the win on the board here. Chaos strikes the first blood on this night. And like I said, pretty good match for it being, a 2021, old Tenzan and Yoshihashi. I graded this match 3.25 stars. So then after that, we had the next matchup with Satoshi Kojima, my man, the leader of the Bread Club, the strongest arm. He defeated Hiroki Goto, 15 minutes and 11 seconds. And not only did Kojima beat Goto on Thursday, July 1st, he also, in the U.S., won a tag match on Impact, teaming with Jake something. So Kojima, this guy, won 2 matches in 2 different countries on the same day. This is Bread Club summer. This is the summer of cozy, guys. Get on train now. Get your bread now. Join the Bread Club. Get your membership because this is a hot summer for Kojima. And don't forget, he has a strong open weight title match coming up later this summer against Filthy Tom Lawler. And then here the next day, he's getting ready for another 6-man title match. And don't forget the Will Ospreay match that happened at the beginning of this year, that feud between the Empire and Tenkozy. This has been an awesome year for Kojima. And this is, like I said, this is a Bread Club summer, a summer of cozy. So get into it, guys, okay? So like I said here, Kojima, he beats Goto 15 minutes, 11 seconds, and this match was so good. Kojima has just been on a roll this year. Nice little hard-hitting match here. We have some spots here where, it kind of starts off with your standard kind of grappling, exchanging. They go to the outside. Kojima is just outpowering Goto, whipping him into the barricades. Goto reverses Kojima into the barricades, and the big mistake here from Kojima, he charges in with a lariat on Goto, who's standing up against the post. Goto moves, and Kojima hits that strongest arm against the post. His big weapon, his final bullet, that finishing maneuver was damaged here with the strongest arm hitting the ring post on the outside, and Goto, being the veteran that he is, takes advantage of that. He works on the arm throughout the match. He's using a Kimura, really just trying to work over the arm, different arm submissions, put all his focus on the strongest arm of Kojima. Goto then hits a big backdrop suplex that Kojima no-sells, and then he back suplex Goto. We get the machine gun chops, rolling elbow from Kojima, but then Goto comes back with a lariat of his own, wheel kicking a bulldog for a near fall. Then Goto then tries to go for Kojima's diving elbow drop, but Kojima cuts him off. He lariats him off the turnbuckle. Goto goes crashing outside to the ring. Eventually they get back in. We got a big forearm exchange. We have a lariat exchange, which, of course, the strongest arm, Kojima wins. We get a Koji cutter for a near fall. Goto reverses an incoming lariat into an Ushigoroshi. At this point in the match, we then had Yoshihashi, who came out to be in the corner for Hiroki Goto. Kojima hits a left arm lariat for a near fall. It wasn't the right arm, so it wasn't quite as strong. Goto catches a lariat and hits a reverse GTR. He hits his rope-assisted GTR for a great near fall, which Voice of Wrestling pointed out on Twitter. The rope-assisted GTR is the most dangerous-looking move that doesn't put anybody away. Goto's never beat anybody with it. Shingo has used it in matches. He hasn't beat anybody with it, but it looks absolutely brutal. But he gets a near fall off of that. Kojima then catches a kick and eventually hits that big lariat, the strongest arm. 1, 2, 3. Satoshi Kojima defeats Hiroki Goto. Third Gen gets on the board. Chaos has 1 win. Third Generation Dads, they have 1 win. And this was a big, big win for my man, Satoshi Kojima. We had a couple questions here on this matchup. First, from Reddit user MitchMM22, says Goto has now lost to a New Japan dad, Kojima, and a junior heavyweight, Ishimori, in the year 2021. Is this man cooked? Well, I don't know if Goto is cooked, but he's definitely a geek. The G in G1 does not stand for Goto. It stands for geek. Goto is a geek. No, but in all seriousness, I don't think Goto is cooked. Goto's still a very good wrestler, puts on some bangers. You put him in a main event in a singles position, I think he's going to deliver. But the thing with Goto is also he's getting older and he just hasn't been pushed to the top level. Earlier on, he was winning multiple New Japan Cups. He was getting IWGP title matches. He was IC champ, never champ. He's had several single pushes and several attempts to kind of get him to that main event level. And also in the last couple of years, that's kind of phased down. He's, been more of a never guy. And then now he's really kind of gone down in this never six-man role. So from a kayfabe perspective, it does kind of seem like he might be quote-unquote cooked because he's not in that, big singles match. He hasn't gotten a IWGP title match in a while. But in ring, he's still a great wrestler, and he's a key part of why this never six-man team has great main events and great matches. This match here with Kojima was a very, very, very good match. I rated it 3.75, and I think Goto's still a great wrestler. But yeah, he did eat these two losses here. So with the Kojima loss, I don't think that loss is as damaging. And when we look at the Kojima loss, Kojima is a former IWGP champ, former Triple Count champ, a big guy in New Japan history, a guy that's been in the Dome, that's come from the dojo. He's a top star, and just looking at the year that Kojima's had, like we mentioned, Kojima has been in bigger spots than Goto has been this year. Arguably, you look at the Empire Tenkoshi feud and that big no DQ match that Kojima had with Ospreay. You look at what he's been doing here in Japan, in the US. He's in Impact getting title matches. He has a strong title match coming up. He's been put in some big spots this year, while Goto hasn't. And like I mentioned last week, I thought it made a lot more sense for Kojima to win because he does have this strong openweight title match coming up with Filthy Tom at some point in the future on New Japan Strong. And plus, this loss to Kojima was to set up a story that was going to play out the following night in the Never Six-Man title match, and we'll talk about that in a second. So, it's another heavyweight here. It's a former IWGP champion. It's the strongest arm. Losing to Kojima doesn't kill Goto's credibility at all. These are two heavyweights. The match could have gone either way. I know a lot of people think, it's a New Japan dad, they're automatically going to lose, but that was not the case here. And I don't think that was that big of a loss. Now, you bring up the Ishimori loss, and that was very surprising. Ishimori pinned him a couple times in the build-up to that Never Six-Man title match with that Bullet Club trio. But again, that was also to set up a story. The thing here with these Never Six-Man title matches, like I mentioned earlier, we have been conditioned to think that these titles are going to change hands often. And with the role that Ishii, Goto, and Yoshihashi have been on, I think they need to, throw something out there to make you think, all right, these guys are losing. So having Ishimori pinning Goto on multiple occasions really helped get that in your mind. Like, wow, you would think Ishimori's a pin eater because he's a junior, but Goto's getting, pinned by this guy several times. Like, these guys have a shot at winning. And again, that set up a story. When the title match came, Goto got his comeuppance on Taiji Ishimori and put that in the rear view. So I don't think that loss is that big of a deal. I mean, definitely it was surprising and big for Ishimori, but I don't really think it hurts Goto like that. And I think, if Goto was really, really cooked, I think we would be seeing him in more opening matches. And I think maybe you would see losing to more juniors, losing to more third-gen dads. But, he's in a good spot right now with the Never Six-Man title. They put a lot of focus on that Never Six-Man team in that division, in their title defenses. So Goto is not cooked. He's definitely not, at the top of the mountain or close to, getting a world title, but he's still good. Next question comes from Reddit user PSan91. He says, I was at the Kizuna Road show on July 1st, and in the crowd where I was sitting, there was a huge pop when Kojima won. It was such a feel-good moment. The crowd was also pulling for Nagata, but my boy Ishii pulled out the win to keep his dreams of going to the Tokyo Dome to face Shingo alive and well. My questions for you guys is, how do you react to Kojima's first big singles win in a while? I'm assuming the celebrations in the dojo were off the charts. Well, first of all, there are now 2 dojos. There's no longer one Keeping It Strong Style dojo. I'm sure you guys could tell by the recording that Young Boy and I have not been in the same room for a while, and that's because we are no longer living together. We now have 2 separate dojos, and with me being the baby face of the duo, my dojo is the Kiss Red and Black Wolfpack dojo, and Young Boy's dojo, as the heel, is the Hollywood Black and White dojo. Now, I don't know if there were celebrations in the Black and White dojo, but in the Wolfpack dojo, in my dojo, there was a celebration for Hiroki Goto for Satoshi Kojima getting that big win over Hiroki Goto. I was very pleased to see Kojima get the win, especially because it seemed like maybe the Chaos team would have just pulled a clean sweep here. I think that's what a lot of people predicted, but my man Kojima pulled it out. Brit Club Summer rolls on. So then we get to the main event of the show. It was Big Tom, Tomohiro Ishii, the Stone Pitbull. He defeats Yuji Nagata 22 minutes and 20 seconds. And this was a excellent main event. This was a G1 climax match. This was a never open weight title match quality. Ishii, Nagata, these guys just don't miss. Very hard-hitting matchup here. Straight from the opening bell, their strike exchanges back and forth. Ishii slaps Nagata. Nagata gets an armbar in. Ishii gets out of that. He's chopping. Nagata's no-selling that, which fires him up, and he strikes Ishii. Ishii's no-selling, and he levels Nagata. These guys are just going back and forth. Ishii's killing Nagata with chops. That must have been the game plan in the Chaos locker room, because we saw Yoshihashi kill the chops on Tenzan. Now Ishii was doing the same to Nagata. I'm sure Nagata and Tenzan went in the back and compared the redness and the bruising, the black and purple of their chest together to see whose chest was worse. Because just like Tenzan's chest, Nagata's chest ends up looking a nasty color here as Ishii is just laying these chops in. There's a point where he has him in the corner, and he's just chopping him and chopping him and chopping him, and Nagata would fall down in a seated position. Then he would fight his way back up, and Ishii would chop him and chop him and chop him, falls back down in a seated position. He fights his way back up, and Ishii would chop him and chop him and chop him down that corner, and Ishii just worked him over in that corner for a couple of minutes there. But eventually Nagata would come back with a big running knee. Then he starts hitting several hard kicks to the chest of Ishii, trying to return the favor there. Hits a beautiful butterfly suplex. We have another big strike exchange. This time Ishii crumbles. Nagata hits a PK to the back, but that just pisses the Stone Pitbull off. He forearms Nagata. I know delayed selling. So I know a lot of people might not like, a lot of pro wrestling traditionalists, they might not like when guys no sell or no sell a move. And I know a lot of people say, well, Ishii no sells. He gets hit with a big strike, he gets hit with a big move, and he pops back up. He doesn't sell, he doesn't register. But that's not true. Ishii is the master of the delayed sell. And I don't know if that's like the proper terminology. Also, Young Boy's not here to correct me, the guy who's training to be a wrestler. But Ishii does the delayed sell. He gets hit with a move. He doesn't sell it right away. He tries to fight back, and then eventually he'll sell it. He'll no-sell, hit a move, and then he'll grab the body part that's hurting. And we saw a lot of that here in this match. When he would fire up and no-sell, he would eventually sell the moves there. So from there, forearm and chop combo from Ishii in the corner. Hits a big stalling superplex. Eventually Nagata comes back. Nagata lock. Ishii gets his foot on the ropes. Thought it was interesting. The Japanese commentary team, mentioning AEW on the air. They were also mentioning Nagata's U.S. title match against Jon Moxley that happened on Dynamite. Once again, we had another strike exchange. Nagata outstrikes Ishii. Nagata hits a big super exploder off the top. Eventually, Ishii fights out of the backdrop hole, hits a lariat to Nagata, headbutts him. Then they once again just start slapping the crap out of each other, just hard slaps to the face. Ishii ends that exchange with it was an enziguri, big double down here. Ishii no-sells an exploder, hits a lariat for a near fall, falls up with the sliding lariat for a near fall. Nagata fights out the brainbuster, hits a wheel kick. Nagata hits a big running knee. Nagata hits a German. Nagata hits a spinning brainbuster for a literal 2.9 kick out from Ishii. Great near fall there. Ishii eventually comes to, hits his brainbuster. 1, 2, 3. The Stone Pitbull gets the win here. So Chaos ends the night 2-1 over the third generation dads as they build up for their never 6-man title match that was happening the following night. Like I mentioned, excellent main event here. I went 4.5 stars on this match. This is a must-see match. You need to go out of your way to watch. This will be a contender for our Strong Style Fight of the Year awards at the end of the years. This right now is a top running candidate for July match of the month. Also, we still have a lot of big Summer Struggle shows and Wrestle Grand Slam that will probably put out matches to compete, but right now, Nagata, Ishii are holding it down in my book for July and was the best match of this night, and definitely one you need to go watch. Now let's move on to the following night, July 2nd, where we would have the never 6-man main event. But first, the show opened up with the IWGP World Champion and his number one contender. They were in singles matches, respectively, against our two young lions from the Noge Dojo here, Yota Tsuji and Yuya Uemura, who just recently finished a 5-match challenge series, as they are, you got to think, closing in on their graduation from the Noge Dojo. So in the opening match of this card, we had Kota Ibushi defeating Yota Tsuji at 12 minutes and 10 seconds. This was a very good match, good opener here. Ibushi, lots of strikes here on Tsuji. Ibushi was just doing some cool stuff in this move. There was a cool double stomp combo he did. Tsuji looked good as well. You know, Tsuji's been doing a lot of like lucha libre inspired moves in this match. He did this like cool, like wacky roll up on Ibushi, but you know, Tsuji's just not on the level of the Golden Star. Ibushi hits him with a big lariat, and then Ibushi puts him away the same way he put Uemura away last week with that single leg crab, that deep, almost a half lion tamer, that angle that Ibushi gets that half crab in, the way he puts the knee in the back, and the awkward position that he had Tsuji bent in. Tsuji had no option but to submit here. Then the second matchup of the night, we had Shingo versus Uemura. Again, another good matchup here, another good showing for Uemura. Uemura kind of had a similar game plan to Goto from the Goto and Kojima match. He tried to work over the arm of Shingo to prevent getting hit with a pumping bomber. And he tried to, you know, out-wrestle the Dragon here, but that was not going to happen. Shingo was not going to let that fly for too long. Eventually, Shingo would hit him with the pumping bomber. 1, 2, 3, puts him away. Good showing from Uemura. He took the fight to Shingo, but yeah, Shingo had to put the young lion out to pasture here for this match. And you know, post-match, Uemura looks like he busted his lip, bloodied up. He shoved Shingo. Wasn't trying to go out on his own merit there. So you gotta think that these guys are closing in on their graduation date. So following that match, we had the Suzuki team of El Desperado, Minoru Suzuki, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru defeat the Bullet Club team of El Phantasmo, Jado, and Taiji Ishimori. Desperado puts Jado away with the numero dos submission win here. So he didn't pin submit one of the junior champs. He didn't, submit ELP or Ishimori. So I don't think that we're going to be getting that Suzuki-gun Bullet Club junior title match just yet, but they do have a win over the team now. They could potentially, petition for a junior tag team title match based off this win from this 6-man tag. So following that, we had the team of Bushi, Sanada, and Tetsuya Naito defeating the Suzuki-gun team of Doki, Taichi, and Zack Sabre Jr. So the LIJ team getting revenge from the previous night here. And we had Bushi hitting the MX on Doki to get the win here. So maybe, who knows, maybe we'll get a Bushi Doki singles match coming up. But obviously, once again, the focus here was on Dangerous Tekkers and Naito and Sanada. Then we'll move on to the main event for the never open weight 6-man tag team titles. Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii, Yoshihashi, they defeat the third generation dads, Hiroshi Tenzan, Satoshi Kojima, and Yuji Nagata, 26 minutes and 50 seconds. And this was a awesome main event. We saw the great chemistry these guys had one-on-one the previous night, and it all just gelled together here in this 6-man tag. Started off with Nagata and Ishii picking up where they left off the night before and going at it. Third generation dad got in control of the match. Eventually, Chaos would come back after Tenzan accidentally takes out Kojima. Then once again, Ishii, they pull out the Chaos playbook of chops, and Ishii is destroying Kojima with chops. And then Yoshihashi comes in, he's working over Kojima. Kojima hits a big Koji cutter and tags Tenzan in. Tenzan comes in, he's cleaning house. But Yoshihashi hits a neck breaker on him for a near fall, locks in the butterfly lock again. So playing off the singles match there of Tenzan tapping out to Yoshihashi's butterfly lock, so you thought the match could be over there. But Tenzan fights his way out. Yoshihashi then once again starts chopping Tenzan. Tenzan fights through the pain, hits a big spinning wheel kick, and he tags in Nagata. Yoshihashi hits a headhunter. Then we have a 3-on-1 attack on Nagata until Kojima finally comes in and tries to make a save. Ishii gets tagged in and he power slams Nagata. Then Tenzan comes in. We got a headbutt exchange. Like I said earlier, do not get into a headbutt exchange with Tenzan. Tenzan wins the headbutt exchange. He starts laying in the formerly banned Mongolian chops, and then Nagata gets in the Nagata lock in. Tenzan locks in the Anaconda Vice, and Kojima locks in Kimura. So all three of the Chaos guys are all locked in submissions here, but they all break it up here. Nagata, he changed his crossface into the Brutalizer, then gets back to the Nagata lock, but Yoshihashi makes a save. Nagata hits an exploder. Ishii hits a German. Then we get another 3-on-1 attack here on Nagata. Kojima once again makes a save for Nagata. Then Tenzan comes in, hits but Ishii. We get a Lariat Anaconda Buster combo from Tenzan and Kojima. Nagata hits a backdrop, but then Goto makes the save. Ishii headbutts Nagata. Goto and Kojima get tagged in, so we pick back up where we left off on July 1st with these two. We get the machine gun chops from Kojima, but Goto fires up and he does his chops of his own. He hits Kojima's diving elbow. We then get a 2-on-1 assault on Kojima. Tenzan makes the save. Then we have all 6 men in the ring. They're all going back and forth here. Tenkoji eventually hits the Tenkoji cutter on Ishii. They try to hit it on Goto but failed. We have a 2-on-1 attack on Kojima. Kojima hits a brainbuster for a near fall. Then he goes for the lariat, like how he beat Goto the night before, but Goto reverses it into a Ushigoroshi. Goto then hits a GTR 1, 2, 3. Goto redeems himself here. He gets the win back on Kojima, and he gets the win for his team. So like I was saying previously about the question about Goto being cooked, him losing to Kojima was all to set up this story of this match and this finish. You get Goto and Kojima in here at the end. You think, oh man, well, Kojima beat him last night. There's a chance he can beat him again. There's a chance they can switch the titles. They've held the belts for a while. So it planted the seed of doubt in your mind. It made you think the third gen dads would get the win here. But like I said, Goto redeems himself. He hits the GTR. He gets the win for the Chaos team. He proves to you guys that he is not cooked yet. So then post-match, we had Ishii being the bigger man here and using the code of honor. He asked for handshakes. You know, this match was very heated going in. These guys were not respecting each other, but Ishii, he gained respect for these guys with the battle they had here. So he goes, he shakes Nagata's hands first, and we have all the guys, they all start shaking hands, showing their mutual respect, and then we're getting ready for the traditional end of show speech from Goto, and then the lights go out, come back up with Evil and Dick Togo choking out Ishii. Goto and Yoshihashi were nowhere to be seen, as Evil later would say that he didn't want any other shot at those trio titles. He just wanted Ishii. So it looks like we're getting a Ishii Evil matchup for one of these shows coming up. It could be Summer Struggle in Osaka, or it could be Wrestle Grand Slam in the Tokyo Dome coming up July 25th. We need some singles matches for the Dome, and hey, if you're going to give Evil a singles match, why not put him in there with Ishii, a guy he's traditionally had good matches with. If they can keep the lights off and garrote wire choking shenanigans to a minimum, these guys could have a great match and, get some good spotlight on Evil here. And pretty big, big singles match at the Dome for Ishii would be cool as well. So we'll stay posted on when this Evil and Ishii eventual singles match will be. So that concludes the Kizuna Road tour with these last two shows here, July 1st and 2nd. Did have a question here from the Reddit user, the Peaky Blinder. Says, next challengers for the Never Six-Man belts. I hope the United Empire at the Dome show. If Hanare can travel, I hope Evil is only looking for a singles match of Ishii, and this will take place at Summer Struggle, leaving Ishii free to defend the six-man belts at the Dome show. Well, I think United Empire, a team of Cobb, Great Okan, and Hanare would be a great set of challengers for this Chaos team here. However, I feel like Cobb and Okan are probably going to have singles matches at Wrestle Grand Slam, so I don't think we'll see a Never Six-Man defense against those guys at the Dome, and I feel like this Ishii Evil match might end up being at the Dome. So I'm sorry, Peaky Blinder, I don't think you're going to get a six-man defense in the Dome, but Summer Struggle Tour is long. We'll probably get another six-man defense sometime later this summer, and I got to imagine United Empire is probably a top prospect, a top team that these guys haven't really faced yet that you can throw out there for a very exciting and very great Cork and Hall main event or wherever show they decide to put that on. All right, well, let's move on into previewing Summer Struggle in Sapporo. So we have 2 big shows coming up this weekend, July 10th and July 11th in Sapporo. So night 1's card, we have Kota Ibushi and Master Wato taking on Yota Tsuji and Yu Yamura. Second matchup, we have Tomohiro Ishii and Yo taking on the Bullet Club team of Dick Togo and Evil. So again, we're going to start the fire, fueling the fire there for an Ishii-Evil singles match. Then in the third match of the card, we have...
There's just something about getting away to the Smoky Mountains. Step out on a hiking trail, zoom across a zip line, splash at water parks, shop till you drop, and say hello to the statue of our hometown hero, Dolly Parton. Discover the thrill of visiting the Smoky Mountains and reconnect with those you love the most in Sevierville, Tennessee. Learn more at visitsevierville.com. That's visit SEVIERVILLE.com.
Hiroshi Tanahashi teaming up with a returning Rocky Romero, our good friend Rocky Romero, back in Japan, teaming up with Tanahashi and Ryusuke Taguchi. That's right, the mega coaches are back together again, and they'll be facing off against the Bullet Club team of ELP, Yujiro Takahashi, and a returning Kenta. So Kenta coming back to Japan as well, and so I think they are playing the seeds for what's coming up here in this matchup. Here's what you got to pay attention to who's matchup against who here. So I think with Rocky coming back and being teamed up with Taguchi and the mega coaches being back together, I think they're setting up Rocky and Taguchi to be challengers for ELP and Taiji Ishimori. I could see Rocky getting an upset win on ELP, which will put them in line for a IWGP Junior Tag Team title match, which then leaves Kenta and Tanahashi. I'm seeing some stuff on social media where they've highlighted the history of Kenta and Tanahashi. Like I mentioned, we got a lot of big shows. We got the Dome coming up. You got to have Tanahashi in a singles match in the Dome. So I feel like Kenta would be a great opponent for him. They've had a couple matches since Kenta has been in New Japan in this latest stint here, and they've all been really good matches. And so I think also in the Tokyo Dome, big match atmosphere. Both of these guys deliver in big matches. I think that would be a great matchup for Wrestle Grand Slam. So then in the fourth match, we have a tag match, Kazuchika Okada and Sho taking on the United Empire, Great Okan and Jeff Cobb. So Jeff Cobb also back in Japan. And once again here, I think we are getting some foreshadowing to what's to come with Okada. So also on the Empire side here, we have 2 heavyweights. We have Great Okan and Jeff Cobb. I think they could set up a singles match for Okada with either one of those guys. Personally, I think the better option would be to do Okada versus Jeff Cobb with the role that Cobb's been on and just, in this new heel role. He's just been killing it this year. So I think an Okada-Cobb match in the Dome would be excellent. We have seen Okada and the Great Okan in the past before they wrestled each other. I believe it was Power Struggle last year. And it was a fine match. They didn't get a ton of time. It wasn't a blowaway Okada match. And so if they really want to heat up the Great Okan, they could do Okada, Great Okan in the Dome, Wrestle Grand Slam. But personally, I think they should do Okada and Jeff Cobb. So then we move on to the semi-main event of the evening. We have the Suzuki team of Doki, Taichi, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Zack Sabre Jr., and they'll be taking on the LIJ team of Bushi, Sanada, Shingo, and Tetsuya Naito. So I'll see the final build here for the tag title match. And then the main event of the evening will be for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title as El Desperado defends against Taiji Ishimori. So they've been building this singles junior title match up for a while now. And so now we're finally getting Despi and Taiji Ishimori. Should be a good match. Also, we have heel versus heel here, so we could be getting a story of like who can out cheat one another. I kind of hope we'll get more of a straight match. I'm sure at the beginning we'll probably get some shenanigans and eye pokes and kind of cheating shenanigans between these two. Hopefully the middle of the match and the closing stretch can be more straight up and more clean. Both these guys are very talented. Should be able to put out a very good main event here. Both these guys not really huge high flyers. They will fly at times, so I don't think we're going to get our off the wall high flying junior title match here, but it should still be fast paced. It should be some high flying. It still should be a very good matchup here. Now, as far as predictions, I think that Desperado is going to retain the title here. If Ishimori wins, you have a situation again where you have a double champ of Ishimori being the junior tag champ and the singles junior champ. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to keep the belt on Despy for now, and then Ishimori can focus on the tag title division. Like I mentioned, we have the mega coaches back here, so I think that Ishimori loses here, and then he can go and focus on the mega coaches with ELP, and then Despy can move on to whatever's next. We have been seeing Hiromu pop up on camera every once in a while. I gotta think that he's gonna be ready to return pretty soon. So I think Hiromu taking the belt from Despy would be probably the right call to do. I'll say Hiromu never lost the belt. Had they forfeit the belt, Despy ends up getting the belt. So you got to have the champion who never lost the belt against this new champion. And so I think it'd be that. Obviously, they had a big money match in Super Juniors last year. So at some point, whenever Hiromu's ready, you can do the big Hiromu Despy match and have Hiromu get the belt back, or you can have Despy retain and have Hiromu kind of have to scratch and claw to get that belt back. So then looking at the following night's card, July 11th, it will open up with Sho and Yuyamura taking on El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Then we'll have the Chaos team of Baraki Romero, Tomohiro Ishii teaming with Ryusuke Taguchi. So once again, like I said, mega coaches back together again. They're taking on ELP, Evil, and Taiji Ishimori. So Taiji is here in this matchup here. So if the mega coaches don't get the upset win on the 10th, I definitely think they will get the upset win here on the 11th with either Rocky or Taguchi pinning ELP or Ishimori, which would lead to a junior tag title match. Maybe it main events Summer Struggle in Osaka, or maybe you put that on Wrestle Grand Slam in the Dome. Also, Evil Ishii in this match. You continue the build to that singles match. Following matchup, you have Hiroshi Tanahashi teaming with Kyoto Tsuji, taking on the Bullet Club team of Kenta and Yujiro Takahashi. So once again, we have Tanahashi and Kenta paired off. I think that's clearly the direction that we're going to be going in with those two guys having a big singles match coming up. Then the fourth match of the night, we will have Kazuchika Okada and Yo taking on the United Empire, Great Okan, and Jeff Cobb. So once again, Okada matched up with these two Empire heavyweights. Like I said earlier, it can go either way. I think you could get Okada versus Okan or Okada versus Cobb on one of these shows that are coming up. I mean, there's enough shows you could potentially, if they want to, they could do both. You could have Okada and Okan, let's say, main event Summer Struggle in Osaka, and then you do Okada and Cobb in Wrestle Grand Slam in the Tokyo Dome. So they could do both, or it could be one or the other. Like I said, I really want the Okada-Cobb matchup, and I think for the Dome, that would be great. Then the semi-main event, we have Kota Ibushi and Master Wato taking on Bushi and Shingo. Continue to build up that upcoming July 25th Tokyo Dome title match between Shingo and Ibushi. And then our main event for night 2 of Summer Struggle in Sapporo is for the IWGP Tag Team titles. Dangerous Techers defend the titles against Sanada and Tetsuya Naito. Has the recipe of being a great match. All four of these guys have great chemistry with each other and against each other and teaming together. And like we've been seeing, these New Japan main events get anywhere between 25 and 30 minutes. So if that amount of time and the talent in this ring should be a great main event. Now, as far as my prediction, I'm going to go with the hot take here. I'm going to go with a title change. Going to go with Sonata and Tetsuya Naito winning the IWGP Tag Team titles from Dangerous Tekkers. I know Tekkers just got the belts back, but here's the thing, guys. We have some big Summer Struggle shows coming up. We have Wrestle Grand Slam in Tokyo Dome coming up. You need some hot matches, and if Tekkers win, I don't know who they defend the belts against moving forward. So I think that the right call here is you have Naito and Sonata win the titles, and then you could immediately do a rematch, probably a rematch I'd probably do this match at the Tokyo Dome, because it doesn't seem like they really have any singles programs really lined up for Naito and Sonata. You can kind of save those guys for G1 and kind of have them here in this tag feud. So you could have, them win the belts here in Sapporo, and then I would do the rematch at the Tokyo Dome, and then you could switch the belts back there. Or if you want, you could have Naito and Sonata kind of do a little mini run with the belts. That's a new team, a fresh team, some fresh matchups. You can do Naito and Sonata against Girls of Destiny. You can do Naito and Sonata against United Empire. You can do Naito and Sonata against some another Bullet Club duo. So there are matches. Suzuki duos. There's other matches that they can do with Naito and Sonata as the tag champs. If they lose here, I'm just not quite sure what the direction is. I don't know. I don't know who Dangerous Tekkers would face going forward, because it seems like a lot of teams are going to be tied up in singles matches coming up. And then B, I don't know what you do with Sonata and Naito, because again, people are starting to get wrapped up in feuds, and I'm not sure where these guys fit in. I mean, there's no IC title, there's just no hot, feud or money match for these guys right now. I mean, maybe they fail, and maybe they face each other at the Dome. But I think the more logical thing here is new champs rematch at the Dome. So that wraps up my preview for Summer Struggle in Sapporo. Again, those shows are this weekend, July 10th and 11th. So it should be some good shows. I'm actually pretty excited. I know there's a lot of multi-man matches, and we're really getting two big matches with the junior title match and the tag title match, but they are planting seeds and starting to set up a lot of programs for down the line. So I'm interested to see what happens with like Okada and Empire and Tanahashi and Kenta, Mega Coaches and Bullet Club. They're just planting the seeds for a lot of big stuff coming up, and I'm curious to see how the Dome card is going to come together with all the stuff they're doing. So let's move on to New Japan Strong. So this past Friday, we had the Fireworks Frenzy, which was Friday, July 2nd. And kind of like we mentioned last week, I feel like kind of a filler show as they get ready for the Tag Team Turbulence Tour that will be starting up pretty soon here. So the show opened up, we had Lio Rush defeating Adrian Quest, 8 minutes and 19 seconds. This was a fine opener here. The problem with this matchup for me was we know that Lio Rush is retiring as soon as he finishes up his New Japan contract. So it's kind of hard to get excited and invest in Lio Rush matches when we know that you can't really do anything with him because he's leaving the territory. Also, I know this match was probably taped way before he was hurt, but it seems like the game plan is for him to finish up the contract. Like he said, he's announced for Resurgence. He's announced for the Fighting Spirit Unleashed taping. So I believe we'll continue to see Lio Rush. But like I said, it's hard to get excited anymore because we know eventually he's leaving. So it's hard to invest in him and get excited about his matches. And then with Adrian Quest, great talent. This man's raw. He does a lot of really cool moves in the ring. But the issue here for me in this matchup was, they've been building up this Adrian Quest and Barrett Brown rivalry, and this match really didn't do anything to advance that. With Adrian being the one that's in a program, I feel like Adrian Quest should have won the match here, pull the upset over Lio Rush and, kind of help him build some momentum into an eventual match with Barrett Brown. But Lio got the win here, which, if Lio wasn't retiring, that's probably the right call. But again, he's retiring. Adrian's in a program, and he loses here. So, good opener, but it was just kind of hard to get into with those factors. Then the second matchup, we had Hikuleo defeating Jordan Clearwater. Again, a fine matchup here, but also kind of weird with Jordan Clearwater, because like Adrian Quest, Jordan Clearwater, they've been doing a program with him and Mysterioso where they keep losing tag matches and seem to be having some miscommunication. So this really didn't, again, really advance the Jordan Clearwater Mysterioso storyline. I guess maybe Mysterioso can be kind of like, look, man, you're the weaker link because you're losing in singles matches. Maybe he can kind of do that, but there wasn't really any mention of that, and this wasn't really building to that. It seems like this match was more about Hikuleo kind of rebounding from the Fred Rosser loss a couple weeks ago. He gets the win with Samoan Driver, and so they're picking back up some steam for Hikuleo. Then the main event, we had Fred Rosser defeating Bateman, 15 minutes and 34 seconds. Once again, fine matchup here between Rosser and Bateman. They're clearly pushing Rosser as one of the top guys of the Strong brand, especially now that he's signed a contract and he's mentioned wanting a title shot. I could see Fred Rosser getting a title match, a strong openweight title match against Filthy Tom at Resurgence. I think that could happen. But good match here. Fred Rosser ends up getting the win when he hits the Emerald Explosion. Again, well, this was actually the only match on the show that really kind of advanced storyline. So we did see, Rosser teamed up with Quest against Bateman and Barrett Brown a couple weeks ago, which kind of set this match up and led to Rosser facing off against Bateman. So that kind of played off of that matchup, and that was kind of built up. So the only match that really kind of advanced anything here came off that tag match. Rosser looks strong. I think we're going to see, like I mentioned, Rosser's kind of climb to facing off against Filthy Tom for the Strong Open Weight Championship. And so next week, or excuse me, I should say this week on Strong, this coming up Friday, we're going to have the Road to Tag Team Turbulence. So this will be the last show before the Tag Team Turbulence tournament starts. So this Road 2 show is going to open up with Barrett Brown versus the DKC. And we have a question here from Reddit user MitchMM22. What are your guys' thoughts on the DKC? I've been impressed with him in his last few outings on Strong, but man, do I hate that he gets to be a young lion with a gimmick name. How do you guys feel about the DKC and his gimmick name? So overall, I like the DKC. Like you, Mitch, I've been impressed with DKC. He brings kind of a different style with kind of that karate and martial arts background that he has, and he has a lot of fire, charismatic guy. Like you, I do think it's kind of weird that they allowed him to keep the gimmick name. They are his initials, so it's not like he's like the Boulder or something. DKC's his initials. But yeah, also Shibata has been doing some different stuff with the LA Dojo versus the Noge Dojo. Normally the Noge Dojo young lions have to get their hair cut. They use their real names. There's not really any, not any kind of gimmicks with them. And so we've seen here with the LA Dojo, none of these guys have had to cut their hair. They've been allowed to use some moves that they've used in their indie or previous, wrestling career move sets. And so DKC's still been able to do his, DKC chops and a lot of his kind of karate stuff But he has been doing a lot more grappling and a lot more like, technical wrestling, if you want to call it that. And he has improved in that area. And so it is kind of weird. I wish they would have just given him just made him use his regular name spelled out and maybe cut the hair and just maybe kind of get him more as like a young lion role. But at the end of the day, it's fine. He's training in the dojo. He's getting better, improving in his wrestling. And so it's just a benefit of being a part of the LA dojo versus the Noge dojo. So also coming up this week on the road to Tag Team Turbulence, our good friend Rocky Romero will be taking on Josh Alexander. So this should be a really good matchup here. Alexander, last saw him against Alex Coughlin in a great matchup. And then Rocky Romero, we recently seen him in some singles actions as well against the AJZ. And I think he had another singles match recently. Oh, yeah, he lost to Clark Connors. I think that was last week. So Rocky looking to rebound off of that loss. And so this should be a very good matchup here. And that's actually the main event for that show. The second match is going to be Alex Coughlin versus PJ Black. So this is going to be the second match in Alex Coughlin's open match series that he's been doing. Like I mentioned earlier, Alexander was the first challenger for Coughlin in this challenge series, trial series, or whatever you want to call it. So now Ring of Honor's Darewolf PJ Black returns to Strong. It's been 7 months since PJ Black's been on Strong, and he's coming back here to face off against Coughlin in the challenge series. Should be a good matchup, an interesting challenge for Coughlin here. But yeah, so the Rocky Alexander match is the main event, and that should be interesting because, there's been a lot of focus on Rocky wanting to get an IWGP Junior title match. He wants to win it under his name. He's the one and only under the Black Tiger name, and obviously Alexander is the X Division champion, which is not really a junior championship. It's about it's not about weight limits. It's about no limits. But still, if you beat the X Division champion, that could put you in line. That could catch the eye of the IWGP matchmakers, and maybe they will give Rocky a junior title match. So it'll be interesting to see who wins this matchup here. And it looks like we're going to get more Josh Alexander on Strong. So I'm down for that. Let's transition over into the news now. So there's a few news items here. We'll run through that, and then there's some questions, and then we'll do recommended match of the week and get you guys out of here. So first news item I have here, the KOPW 2021 is going to be on the line in a pre-show Rambo set for Wrestle Grand Slam in Tokyo Dome. So it seems like they're really trying to make this July 25th Wrestle Grand Slam the same level, same caliber of show as a Wrestle Kingdom. So we have the pre-show Rumble here. It's going to be for the KOPW trophy. We don't know who else is going to be in it right now besides Yano, but super early prediction. I think Yano is going to keep it here. And this is the pre-show, so it'll be fun, lighthearted, and we won't have to worry about KOPW rearing its ugly head on the main card of a Tokyo Dome show again. Also, we had a video interview from the Good Brothers, part 1 of 2, that's up on njpw1972.com. The free match of the week is the IWGP IC title match from New Beginning in Sapporo 2019 Night 2, featuring Taichi versus Tetsuya Naito. So good little match to watch as we get ready for the tag team title match coming up this weekend. Also past week, we had Sho, who was in action on GLEAT. He won his first GLEAT match via ref stoppage. So I had a question here from Hawaiian Punch BV. He says, did you check out GLEAT and Sho's match would you say it was the greatest show? I see what you did there, Hawaiian Punch BB. I did check out a little bit of GLEAT. So I watched the opener and I did watch Show's match against Ito. It was an interesting match. It was a good match. I mean, it was very hard hitting. It slapped each other a lot. This match was under UWF rules, so it was more of a shoot style matchup. I'm not always the biggest fan of shoot style matches, but I thought they did it well. It's not something that I would say go out of your way to watch, but it was interesting kind of seeing Show in that environment. But overall, I like the look of the GLEAT show. They were in Tokyo Dome City Hall. They had 1,000 fans, which, I mean, obviously it's kind of hard to gauge what's a good audience right now with the pandemic in Japan. But I think 1,000 for a new promotion, pretty good in that arena. They had really like the production and setup that they had, the staging and the camera works, and I like some of the production stuff they did with like the nameplates. They had the guy's picture, their name, their height, their weight, and some kind of accolades about the guy. So obviously this was the version 1 GLEAT show, and so a lot of new fans are tuning in, and so I thought that was a great way to be able to get to know who the wrestlers were with the nameplates. And they did the big kind of like the blood sport intro where they showed all the wrestlers who would be wrestling that night at the beginning of the show, and so that was another way to get you to help to know the wrestlers. And so, like the production of GLEAT, we'll see if there'll be more shows to come, and we'll see if there'll be more of Show to come on these shows. Second part of Hawaiian Punch BB's question says, was there anyone from the show that you would like to see compete in New Japan? What was your impression of Takanori Ito? He's someone that I would like to see for a tour. Maybe replace Goto in the G1 after Goto's 2021. It was my first time seeing him under shoot-style rules, and he impressed me. I will always remember him as a prospect in Wrestle 1 and dressing like Kevin Owens while kicking like Kenta. Yeah, I thought Ito looked good in this match up here. I'd be interested to see him in more of a traditional pro wrestling setting. I've never seen him wrestle before. This is my first time seeing him wrestle, and it was under UWF rules. But very good striker and a good grappler, and so I'd be interested to see him in for a tour. I don't know if I would replace Goto in the G1, but I think you could bring him in for a tour and give him a tryout. For me, the names that kind of pop off from this card are the Strong Hearts. The Strong Hearts have been the highlight of any show they're on, and they're just super talented. That opening match of El Lindemann was really good. El Lindemann is like the best wrestler that nobody knows about. This guy is so good, so fast, freaky strong, great high flyer. He's a guy that should be seen by more people. And then obviously you have T-Hawk, you have Shima, that whole Strong Hearts crew. Those are guys that should be featured more. Also, I knew they were supposed to be featured on AEW, but the pandemic changed that. But these are guys that, we talked about the junior division needing new guys, needing some fresh blood, and the potential rumors of, guys in New Japan in the office being interested in bringing in the Strong Hearts for the junior division and wrestle in New Japan. I think that would be an excellent addition. I would love to see Shima, Lindemann, and T-Hawk and some of these guys mix it up. And the guy that El Lindemann wrestled, Hayato Tamura, he impressed me too. I thought he was really good as well. I would like to see him come over for the junior tour. So I think there's a lot of interesting names. One thing I did notice from the kind of opening match ceremony was there's a lot of guys on this GLEAT card who are in their like mid to early 20s. a lot of young talent that are very good that I think New Japan should really capitalize on. And I know it might be kind of, shady to say, but I hope they kind of pull, what they did in the past with some of the juniors. We saw, with guys like Ricochet and Kota Ibushi and Kenny Omega, guys that were stars in other promotions. New Japan would kind of, quote unquote, borrow them for a Best of Super Juniors, but then eventually kind of poaching them and signing them and using them as top stars. And also, I'm not saying I want Glate to go out of business, but I would love to see New Japan take an El Lindemann, Hayato Tamura, Shima, T-Hawk, some of these other young guys that were on this card, and put them in New Japan, get them in that junior division, and give them that big spotlight. Next question from the Peaky Blinder. Thoughts on Show's performance on the Work Shoot UWFI style Glate show. Like I said, I thought it was a good matchup. It really didn't knock my socks off. I've seen better shoot style matches on Bloodsport and other places in recent years. Like I said, it was very hard hitting. They were slapping the crap out of each other. Great submissions. To me, the finish just kind of came out of nowhere with Show getting that triangle, and obviously that's kind of like an MMA style match. You can get a submission kind of out of nowhere, and the fight ends quickly. So wasn't really paced like a pro wrestling match, and I don't know. I just wasn't. I mean, it was a good match. I just didn't. I wouldn't put it in the notebook. I wouldn't say you need to go out of your way to watch it, but it was interesting to watch. So if you have time, it's on YouTube. You can find the whole show was on YouTube, but then they took it down because it's going to be aired somewhere on TV. But the show and Ito match you can find on YouTube right now. Eventually, I think the full show will be back on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, check it out if you have the time, but I wouldn't say you got to go out of your way to watch it. So moving on in the news, like I mentioned earlier, Kojima also winning a second match on Thursday. He was on Impact. He was supposed to face off against his partner Eddie Edwards, but Eddie Edwards was laid out by W. Morrissey, the former Big Cass, which then made Sam Beal and Brian Myers, the former Kurt Hawkins, come down to the ring while Kojima was in the ring and got into a 2-on-1 situation. But then Jake Something came out to make the save, and we had a big tag match with Kojima and Jake Something defeating Sam Beal and Brian Myers. So it looks like with that set up at the opener, they're probably going to do a Kojima versus W. Morrissey match on probably the next Impact Plus special. So next thing here, Sunday, July 18th, live in Bristol, Shota Umino makes his Rev Pro in-ring return. So this past weekend, Umino had an appearance at the Rev Pro show, and then we have two big matches lined up for him here. So on July 18th, he's facing off against Dan Maloney in his first match back in Rev Pro. Dan Maloney, some of you guys might know him from NXT UK, but he's been in Rev Pro recently and has been doing pretty good for Rev Pro. It's amazing what happens when you leave the WWE system and how much you can flourish. So he's been doing good in Rev Pro. So big challenge here for Umino. And speaking of big challenges, Saturday, August 21st, the Southside Heavyweight Championship will be on the line. The new Southside Heavyweight Champion, Ricky Knight Jr., is going to put his goal on the line against Shota Umino. So big match here for Shooter, a shot at getting his first title in Excursion and winning the Southside Heavyweight Championship, which is currently the top belt in Rev Pro right now, top active belt. Obviously, Will Ospreay is still the Rev Pro champion. That's still the top belt, but eventually the plan is for the Rev Pro title and the Southside Heavyweight title to be unified as one, to be the top, and that made that the undisputed top belt. But for right now, the Southside Heavyweight Championship, they just had that tournament for it. Ricky Knight Jr. won it, and now his first defense is going to be against Shota Umino. So a couple questions here. First from Dom Homie 101. He says, with Shota Umino making his return to Rev Pro, Who would an ideal first opponent for Umino be when he eventually returns to Japan? Well, to me, I think that Umino, he looks like an ace right now. With the hair, with the gear, I think he has the charisma, he has the fire. I think he's a good wrestler. I have not seen any of his Rev Pro stuff, but I've heard good reports. I mean, he was very good as a young lion, and it seems like he just gives off ace energy. So if it was me, I'm bringing him back to Japan to be the next ace, to be the guy that's going to replace Okada, and I would probably do something similar like they did with Okada and Tanahashi. I'd have Umino probably come in there. You give him a low card to mid card guy. Okada, his first match back was against Yoshihashi, so maybe you find like a low card, mid card guy that you have Umino beat, and then you set him up for a IWGP title match, or you set him up for a match with Okada. You have him beat Okada. I know that sounds crazy, but I feel like Umino is the future. With the look, with the charisma, he's a very good wrestler. It seems like he's learning to wrestle the main event style based off reports of what I've been hearing. He's already getting put in this heavyweight title match here. I think he's being groomed to be the next ace. So yeah, I would put him in put him in there first. Maybe you put him in there with a guy like Goto, kind of that gatekeeper guy that he could beat, and then set him up to go up against whoever the current champ may be, or a match with Okada. Next question comes from Viking Pain. He says, I see a lot of hype for Shota Umino, and I get it, but I wonder what you guys think of him. I see the potential in him, like a lot of people do, but I always felt that Ren Narita was a better wrestler between the two. If you can, rate him on the Bret Hart scale. So for those of you who don't know the Bret Hart scale, you base him off look, mic, work. You can also add in it factor as a fourth category. We actually did an episode at the beginning of the pandemic last year where we ranked all of the current New Japan roster under the Bret Hart wrestler scale. So go out and check that episode in the archive. I thought that was a lot of fun, and just kind of going through the roster, ranking those guys. Viking Pain wants me to do the Bret Hart wrestler scale on Umino. Well, first, let me answer his first question. What do I think about Umino? Like I said in Dom Homie's question, I think Umino he has the potential to be the next ace. He has the look. He has the work. I really haven't heard him talk, so I don't know what his mic skills are like. And so, let's break down the rating. So, look, mic, work, it factor. So let's see here. So we'll start with the look. So look, like I said, I think he looks like an ace right now. He's not the most jacked guy right now. I think he can probably put on some muscle, but I feel like his build is similar to a young Tanahashi when he was in that that U30 division. It was slowly becoming in that ace role. So I'm gonna give him an 8 for the look for right now. So that's the look. Mike, again, we've only seen very little of his mic work in New Japan, and that was as a young lion, but he was one of the more coherent young lions. I don't know if he's cut any promos in Rev Pro, but I just don't have a lot to really judge off the mic. So, for now on the mic, I'm gonna give him a 6.5 on the mic work, giving him the benefit of the doubt. It could be better, it could be worse, but we'll go 6.5. So that's look, mic, work, or look, mic. So work is the next category. So work, again, I haven't seen any of his Rev Pro stuff, but I've been hearing great reviews. I thought he was a very good young lion in the ring. But I do agree with you that as far as bell to bell in ring, I do think Ren Narita is the better wrestler. However, I do think Umino has more charisma than Narita. I think Umino has that ace feel than Narita. Narita feels like a Shibata. a guy that's going to be a great in-ring wrestler, great striker, great brawler, a guy that's going to have big matches, hold titles, but he's never going to be the ace. I think Umino has the potential to be the ace for his work. Right now, I'm going to give him a 7.5 on the work. And then the last category would be the it factor. And I think he has the it factor. And we saw the way that he instantly clicked with Jon Moxley and how he was able to kind of get over in that situation and how that really propelled him. You know, that Royal Quest show, and the UK crowd was chanting, "Let's go, Shooter." And, people are so hyped to see him. And like you mentioned, there's been a lot of hype on his return. This match with Dan Maloney, the match for Ricky Knight Jr., there's a lot of hype. So I think he has that it factor when you look at him and that gear and the kind of the aura he puts off. I'm like, man, this guy looks like an ace. So I'm going to give him an 8 on the it factor for right now. So that puts him at a score of 30 out of 40, which I think is pretty good for a guy that's on excursion. Now, again, like I said, really don't have a fair scale on the mic and not the fair scale on the work because I haven't seen any of the Rev Pro stuff. I'm basing it off of his Young Lion work that I've seen. So I do want to catch these upcoming matches with Dan Maloney and Ricky Knight Jr. so I can get a better gauge and maybe we can give you a better answer. I'll be curious to hear what Young Boy's take is on Umino and how he would rate him out on the Bret Hart wrestler scale. But 30 out of 40, like I said, I think is pretty good for a guy that's just on excursion and definitely room to improve and to get better in all 4 of those categories. So speaking of aces, the ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi, he's going to be appearing as himself in the Vanguard Overdress anime. I have not watched this anime. I'm not sure what it's about, but Tanahashi is going to be in it. This is all part of like this, Bushi Road product announcement anime convention thing. Not quite sure what that was, but they did announce Tanahashi being in this Vanguard Overdress anime, and they did have gameplay footage for the New Japan Strong Spirits mobile game that's been teased. It seems like forever now. I think around Wrestle Kingdom time was when they first announced that the game was coming, and it's been in development this whole time. And they showed clips from it, and in the game, they're using the gameplay as far as the graphic is actually footage from real matches. So the entrances they use real entrances, and then when you do a move, they show a clip of, if you're Tanahashi, they show you a clip of Tanahashi doing a sling blade, which is kind of an interesting take to do for a game. So I'm not quite sure how that. I mean, I saw the gameplay footage, but I'm still like, as far as playing that, I'm not sure really how the mechanics is going to work out. But it's an interesting take on the game. So when it comes out, I'll download it, I'll check it out and see how it is. Then also along with this, the Strong Spirit footage, there was this new character, this Mass Strong Spirit character that I was a little confused. I'm not sure if this is like a story mode in the game where you're going to be playing as Mass Strong Spirit, or if it's just a way to promote the game. I wasn't quite sure, but they had this whole thing with Mass Strong Spirit need to be trained by the Mass Sensei in the way of the app, and so he had a match. It was all clearly in the Strong Studios. It was the Mass Strong Spirit against Sin Bodhi, the former Kizarni from WWE, and he lost the match there to Sin Bodhi, and he had to continue to train under Mass Sensei. And so apparently there's going to be more episodes, and we're going to follow this journey of the Mass Strong Spirit. So, but again, I'm not sure if it's like actually a part of the game or it's some kind of extra thing they're doing to help promote the game. So as we figure it out, we'll let you guys know, or maybe you guys can clue me in on what it was supposed to be. So now let's move into some listener questions here. And I know some of these questions are really pointed to the young boy, and we could definitely use the expertise of his knowledge and history on some of the stuff here. So I will answer what I can with the best of my ability, and anything I can't answer, we will punt to next week when the young boy returns. So first, let's look at the question from Grunty Dodds. He says, another podcast mentioned Sabu winning the junior heavyweight title in 1995 and then cutting a promo rejecting the title because he doesn't consider himself a junior. This was apparently a shoot, but it didn't elaborate. Have you heard of this? What's the real story? So I have not heard of this Sabu story. Unfortunately, I don't know the real story, if it is a real story and what happened behind it. But I mean, it sounds like something Sabu would do. So hopefully next week we'll come back with some more info, and maybe Young Boy will have some more info on what happened there with that Sabu situation. Next question from Hawaiian Punch BV. He says, what is your thoughts on the rubber match between Poirier and McGregor? Do you think it was too soon for McGregor to jump in there again after Poirier finished him so emphatically? I'm excited for the Poirier McGregor rubber match. I think it should be another good fight. I think it's gonna really tell us, where McGregor is at. Obviously, McGregor's, a lot of people are saying he's washed, but I still think he's a great fighter. I don't think he's washed, but I do think, Poirier just has his number. We saw in that last fight, and yeah, we're gonna see what kind of McGregor we get here in this fight. And I saw he tweeted something with like Poirier's wife was like messaging him on Instagram, so clearly he's same Conor in that respect of kind of doing the mind games and trying to make this kind of like a pro wrestling angle. And also, UFC, they don't really have a ton of big marquee stars right now. But they are doing well, tickets wise and pay-per-view wise with that ESPN Plus deal. But as far as like super huge, like household name draws, they don't, they've kind of lost a lot of people over the last couple of years. And McGregor is one of their biggest draws. And so they probably wanted to get him back there quickly to sell out shows, get some more ESPN Plus subscriptions on pay-per-view. So maybe it was too quick, but we're going to see what happens here. Like you mentioned, like that was a pretty, definitive loss to Poirier. And I think we're going to see here is Conor going to be able to, step his game up and take out Poirier, or is it going to be Poirier, beating him quickly again and winning the rubber match? It'll be interesting to see what happens. So Hawaiian Punch VV also asks, have you seen the Diamond Mine in NXT yet? A team of Roderick Strong, Hideki Suzuki, Kiss's favorite son, Russ Taylor, managed by Malcolm Bivens sounds interesting. Even more interesting, Roderick Strong has stolen the greatest submission finisher in wrestling today, Yoshihashi's Butterfly Lock. Hopefully you guys are safe from Elsa. Thank you, Hawaiian Punch Baby. We are, as of right now, as of this recording, we are safe from Elsa. We haven't, it's now 9:54 as I record this p.m. Eastern time. Still have not experienced any weather yet. Like I said, kind of that calm before the storm. I know we're probably going to experience some weather probably the next couple hours here. But back to Diamond Mine. Yes, I have seen Diamond Mine. I watched NXT last week, so I'm a huge fan. I don't know if I've really said it much on the air here. I'm a huge fan of Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong is one of my favorite wrestlers. Big fan of him. I really haven't seen much of Hideki Suzuki, and like you mentioned, we were big fans of Russ Taylor when he was on Strong and a part of Team Filthy. So I'm very interested to see how they use this unit of Diamond Mine. Again, we've had our complaints on the Butterfly Lock. To me, if I remember correctly, it looked like Roddy kind of did the same thing that Yoshihashi's doing now, where he kind of turned it into a Kimura at the very end. So if he does that, I'm fine with it. I'm, more of a fan of Roddy doing a sick kick or one of his backbreakers as a finish. But I guess, Diamond Mine, they're supposed to be, an MMA kind of, shoot style group here, and so obviously winning with a submission makes sense. But I like the group. I like Bivens being the manager. It kind of reminds me of when he was managing Catch Point, and so I think it's a good stable here. I just hope they do something with them. They made their debut. They attacked Kushida, and so I guess it's going to be Roddy and Kushida probably for the cruiserweight title. Not really a big fan of Roddy being a cruiserweight. I know technically he is under 205, and guys kind of float in and out of the cruiserweight division in NXT. But to me, Roddy has always been like a world champion guy. I know he's not the best promo, but hey, you have Bivens with him now. Have Bivens cut the promos, have Roddy wrestle. That's a great combo to me. I think Roddy should eventually be the NXT champion. But we'll see what happens. But I guess he'll start here probably with Kushida. And then I'm guessing maybe you have Russ Taylor and Hideki Suzuki. Maybe you have those guys team up and eventually go after the tag team titles. But I'm down with Dynamite. I think it's cool. I like all the guys in the group. And so yeah, I think going forward, there was rumors that I believe that Adrian Hujas was supposed to be in the group, but he would have been a great addition. But obviously he was released. So yeah, hopefully Dynamite gets over and they don't kill the push. Big fan of Roddy. I would love to see. I love that Roddy's out of Undisputed and he's the leader of his own faction. Give him some time to shine. And so yeah, hopefully this leads to bigger and bright things for Roddy and for Bivens, because they have really kind of started and stopped Bivens. They did the whole thing with the forgetting their names, Hindu Shear. They did that thing, and then that was dropped pretty quickly, and then they started doing the Russ Taylor thing. That got kind of dropped, and they were off TV, and now they're back with Dynamite. So hopefully that this lasts more than 1 or 2 weeks, and we see more Bivens, more promos from Bivens, and like I said, this leads to something big for Roddy. Next set of questions here comes from Dom Homie 101. First, he asks, any thoughts on the big announcement that will be announced at the July 25th Tokyo Dome show? So, Dom Homie, I saw this question when you sent it in, and I was scouring the internet trying to figure out what you were talking about, because I have not seen anything about a big announcement that's supposed to be coming at the Tokyo Dome. I know they recently announced the Rambo, so I'm not sure if that's what you were talking about, or I'm just completely missing something about an announcement that's supposed to be happening at the Dome. But I would guess if they are making a big announcement at the Dome, I would guess they would probably be announcing G1 dates. That probably makes a ton of sense, because G1's supposed to be in the fall. So getting those dates out there, the venues out there, could be what the big announcement is. His next question is, can the young boy explain why Rey Mysterio and Psychosis weren't a part of the 1995 Super J Cup? So I will pump that question for next week when the young boy comes back. Next question, how would this year's G1 Climax look if there's no foreign talent? Who would be their participants? Let's take a look at last year's block, because honestly, I don't think there's going to be a huge difference between last year's block and this year's block. So last year in the A block, we had Kota Ibushi, Will Ospreay, Jay White, Kazuchika Okada, Taichi, Jeff Cobb, Tomohiro Ishii, Shingo Takagi, Minoru Suzuki, Yujiro Takahashi. In the B block, we had Sanada, Evil, Naito, Kenta, Sabre, Goto, Tanahashi, Juice, Toriano, and Yoshihashi. So again, both blocks mainly consisting of domestic talent. I think there are a few names that we could potentially not be seeing. Obviously, Will Ospreay, we have not seen him since he left the territory, lost his smile, took his ball and went home. We haven't seen him since then. So Ospreay, if he's not healthy in time, that's an open slot there. Looking at the A block, the only other name in the A block that I would say that wouldn't be or shouldn't be in the G1 is Yujiro Takahashi. So that's 2 spots. Let's just work with no Ospreay and no Takahashi. I would think, we're seeing foreigners being able to come back and forth pretty easily if they have visas. So Jay White and Jeff Cobb coming in should happen. So I'm counting on Jay and Jeff Cobb still coming in. Then we look at the B block. There's Sabre, but Sabre lives in Japan, hasn't missed a date yet, so I would think Sabre would be in it. Juice we haven't seen him in a little bit, but I would guess that he can make it back over. So I'm going to count on Juice. And then we got Yano and Yoshihashi. Personally, I know people love Yano in the G1 and they have their excuse. It's a night off, blah, 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 blah. But Yano's a guy I wouldn't mind seeing being removed in order to give somebody else a shot. But let's just work with Yano being there. So we're working with two empty spots here. So no Ospreay, no Yujiro. So with 2 spots, the first 2 names that I think about are the Great Okan and Aaron Hanare. Hanare might be kind of a stretch, especially since he lost his singles match to Sonata. Great Okan, we've seen him in big spots. He's wrestled Okada, he's wrestled Tanahashi a couple times. He had the big win against Naito in the first round of the New Japan Cup. So I think Great Okan's a guy that should be in the G1. So that takes a spot right there. And then, like I mentioned, Aaron Hanare, I think, should be a guy that could get in if you have another spot open. Now, let's say we have, Aaron Hanare, let's say he has travel issues. Who else would we put in? Well, let's take a look here. I think Kojima would be a great guy. Kojima technically has not had his, last farewell G1, and the year that Kojima is having, he's easily somebody that you can put in there to fill a spot in the G1, and have some great matches in that tournament, no matter what block you put him in. Obviously, Bad Luck Fale is a guy. He's been back in Japan this year. We haven't seen him recently, but I mean, he's a guy that you can bring in to fill a spot. Let's see here. I'm scrolling through the roster page here to see if there's anyone else that I'm missing that could potentially be in. Let's see here. Yeah, as I scroll, I think pretty much all the guys that are going to be in it are there. If something happened where completely every single, like if Jay White couldn't make it in, if Juice couldn't make it in, for some reason Sabre had to leave, there are a few domestic guys that they can fill in. You can, like I mentioned, you can do Kojima, you can pull Tenzan in, you can keep Yujiro in, you can have Nagata break his thing about retiring from the G1 and put Nagata back in. There are guys there. Makabe, you can put Makabe back in. Also, these are not first options here, but these are guys that you can bring back in under dire situations. But you have Great Okan, you have Aaron Hanare. You have some younger guys that you can put in there. David Finlay, after having that upset win over Jay White, he's getting the never title match. David Finlay is a guy that if he gets back in the country, he's a guy that you got to consider as potentially a G1 entrant. So once again, it's a tough field here. There's a lot of guys I have a hard time seeing not be in this tournament. So it's going to be interesting to see who does make the final cut, which foreigners they can get in, and if there would be any surprises. I'm not sure. I know there's been a ton of WWE releases, but I don't know if those 90 days will be up in time, and I just don't know if there's anybody that they're going to want to go out of their way to bring in for the G1. So we'll see what happens there. Next question. With the recent news about Terry Funk, what are your favorite matches of Terry Funk in Japan? So I know there's been some reports of Terry Funk, his health not doing great right now. I saw Tommy Dreamer tweet something saying that he spoke with Terry Funk and he said he's fine. So not sure what the full story there is. Personally, I can't say I have any favorite matches of Terry Funk in Japan. I'm sure Young Boy has a ton. For me, growing up, I really didn't get peak Terry Funk when I was young. The first time I saw Terry Funk was probably Chainsaw Charlie when he was teaming up with Cactus Jack against the New Age Outlaws. Probably my first memory of Terry Funk is him getting pushed off the stage in a dumpster. But obviously, I've seen plenty of Terry Funk promos. I've seen ECW matches. I've seen some MLW matches. I've seen, some of his earlier work, but I just have not seen any of his stuff in Japan. At least nothing that I can recall that I've seen. So that'll be another good question to save for the young boy. Next question, he says, well, these are two fighting questions. So, and either boxing questions. I'm not the huge boxing guy, so these are, again, questions we got to save for the young boy. Then we're going to move on to the last set of questions here from Reddit user Viking Pain. So first he asks, have you guys heard about Japan making moves to create a vaccine passport? This will give vaccinated people an exemption to the 14-day quarantine rule they currently have. If this passes, it could bring much needed life to best of the Super Juniors and the Junior Division as well. So Viking Pain, no, I have not heard about this vaccine passport until you sent the link along to what they're trying to do. I think it'd be great if it passes and they end up doing it. And like you mentioned, this would bring life to the Junior Division. We could do a 2-block Super Juniors and get more juniors in. I think it also brings life to the heavyweight division because you can bring in guys that are on strong. You can bring in guys that have been recently released from WWE that you want to bring in, or other independent guys you can bring in the country. It helps. The tag division also needs help. You can bring in like Aussie Open. You can bring in some other teams that are out there. I know FTR wants to work Japan. You can bring some teams in and save that division. So this would help the company all around. It would help with Western interest because as guys come over, people would be interested. You can get Moxley over there more. So hopefully the thing pass because it would be a great help to the company in general. Then his last question here: how great of a wrestler do you guys think Bam Bam Bigelow was? I asked because recently Bam Bam Bigelow has been getting a lot of love on the Reddit Squared Circle, and there's been a lot of discussions on how talented of a big man he truly was. Also, I was wondering if you guys have any match recommendations of his time in Japan. So Bam Bam Bigelow, he's one of these wrestlers that we talked about, when you're growing up, somebody that's really good that you think they're not that great. And growing up, I mean, I didn't think he sucked, but I was not really a huge Bam Bam Bigelow guy. I mean, he looked cool, but I mean, obviously my favorite wrestler growing up was Shawn Michaels. I never really I was never really drawn to Bam Bam like that, and I wasn't, as a kid, like a big guy like him doing a moonsault really didn't impress me, which is kind of surprising. But honestly, as you get older and then you look back and you watch his stuff, you're like, man, Bam Bam was so freaking talented. And I rewatched some of the ECW stuff with Taz and his run there, and you look back at some of the stuff he did in Japan. It's like, man, Bam Bam was incredible for a guy his size, cartwheeling, doing moonsaults, going fast paced. The guy was incredible for his size, and I feel like he was not truly utilized to his potential in the States. And obviously, I think ECW was probably the place that got the best, but that wasn't the biggest platform. And then I know there were probably other various reasons why he didn't get pushed that higher up the card, but also, being in WWE and WCW, like I just feel like he wasn't used to his potential. I feel like he could have been a way bigger star in both of those promotions. But you asked for matches in Japan. Him and Vader were an awesome team in Japan. They have 2 great matches against Hiroshi Hase and Keiji Muto from 92. If you look on Cage Match, they're 2 of the top-rated matches that Bigelow had in Japan. I'm not sure if they're on New Japan World. I didn't check that, but those are 2 matches to check out. Vader and Bigelow versus the Steiner brothers. I believe we reviewed that match as one of the recommended matches of the week. and it was freaking incredible. I mean, I think just go in New Japan World and type in Bam Bam Bigelow and see what comes up and watch it, and see what comes up and just watch, because Bam Bam, he was hard hitting, high paced, high flying, just an incredible athlete, like you mentioned, for his size, and just really put out some good stuff there. And so makes me want to watch some more Bam Bam. Maybe I'll do the same. I'll take my own advice. I'll put Bam Bam's name into New Japan World and see what comes up and watch some of that stuff. Well, that wraps up the questions for this week. Thank you for everybody who submitted questions. Remember, you can always submit questions to me. Email me, jeremy@socialsuplex.com, or look out for the Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, Discord posts that I put out every week calling for questions. So the last thing that we got to do here before we close it out is the recommended match of the week. So last week, Josh recommended for us to watch Lou Thesz versus Inoki from the 1970s. Boy. Man, this match, I'm not gonna lie, guys. I was not feeling this match. It opened up great. Lou Thesz hitting this big back suplex, crowd pops. And then it started going into a lot of grappling, a lot of holds, and I'm like, okay, are they gonna pick the pace up? Are they gonna do something else? What's going on here? There's a lot of Thesz working a head scissors and Inoki working a hamlock. These guys just kind of getting each other in holes until, it really didn't pick up till literally the very end, where Thesz hits another back drop, then Inoki hits a back drop, and then he hits a fallaway suplex and gets the win, and it just kind of ended. And I was like, what? So yeah, to me, I know probably if you're an old school wrestling fan, maybe you love it. I know Young Boy probably loves this match, but for me, I don't know. It needed a little bit more. And I get, using holes and actually wrestling, but this needed a little bit more sauce for me here. Wasn't getting me fired up here. So sorry, Young Boy, failed you here, but. No, I don't know. Again, it's the 1970s, so obviously a way different style then, and maybe in this time period, this was an awesome match. But in 2021 eyes, it was hard for me to get in this match. So my recommended match for this week for you guys is Kenny Omega versus Tomohiro Ishii from the G1 special in the USA. This was the first Long Beach shows they did, where they crowned the U.S. champion. They had the tournament, and this is from day 2, the finals, Kenny Omega versus Ishii. This was in 2017, and this was before we started Keeping It Strong Style, so we had not talked about this match on the air. And this was before I was watching. I think I was just starting to watch New Japan full time at this point. I was transitioning from just watching big shows to watching everything before we started the podcast. So, Young Boy and I, we haven't talked about this on the air before. So, I'll be curious to kind of get his thoughts and just kind of rewatching. I have not watched this match since I watched it the first time it aired in 2017. And I figured it's something good to watch with this LA show, Resurgence, coming up, and just looking back at the first LA show and the big U.S. title. And yeah, just an awesome, incredible matchup here. We watched this weekend, and just how incredible Kenny and Ishii are. Man, those guys had great matches together. So that's the recommended match of the week. If you have not watched it in a while, I think it's a great rewatch to watch. And if you're new, you came to New Japan in the last couple of years, and you missed that tournament, you missed that Ishii Kenny match, well, here's your chance. Go and watch it. It's on New Japan World G1 special in the USA. It's night 2, the finals for the first ever U.S. title. The cleaner, Kenny Omega versus the Stone Pitbull Tomohiro Ishii. Well, guys, I did it. I have come to the end here of my first solo show, and I think I survived. Definitely miss having the Young Boy or somebody else to kind of bounce off of. But like I said, I wanted to take the challenge, do the solo show, and see how it is, see how to do it, get that singles run. But definitely, I miss a young boy, and definitely probably not do this solo every week. But I appreciate you guys listening. Hopefully, it wasn't too bad. You guys stuck around. But yeah, that's gonna wrap things up for this week. Next week we'll be back to review the summer struggle in Sapporo. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is at KI Strong Style. The network is at Social Suplex. You can follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/Social Suplex. You can find us in the Wrestling Squared Circle group, facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Reddit, we are the Pro Black Guy, just Keeping It Strong Style. You can also follow us on Instagram at Social Suplex. You can email me, Jeremy, at socialsuplex.com. Check out all the other shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We have One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. Grave Consequences has started back up, looking at season 2 of Lucha Underground. We have the 8-Bit Suplex with Josh #2. He just put out some special episodes looking at the top N64 games. You can check that out. On Saturdays, of course, we have All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin, and then we have the Great Match Generator with Danny. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review, and we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts. Ichauzo Bakayaro. Red Club Summer is running wild.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.